We had infrastructure projects around the country all led by a man with that much energy or a woman with that much energy, we'd be getting a lot more things done. So thank you, Chris Bishop. It now falls to me to have the great pleasure of introducing to you someone who, for one thing, looks incredible in a Highlanders jersey. For another thing, has set international trends, including on a recent visit to Asia, inspiring a head of state to get takeaway fried chicken for dinner and put a social media post up about it so he could be more like New Zealand. This is a man who has, I think, done for our party something incredible. Many of the people in this room were with us between those difficult years after 2020, and we remember how tough that was, and now we have a leader who brought us together, who unified us, who took us through a campaign that I think was exceptional, and who today is leading our coalition, our cabinet, and our caucus with drive, with energy, and with a real passion for this great country of ours. Chris Luxon wants New Zealand to be the very best it can be. And I feel that frustration and that impatience from him because he knows that every hour and every day is an opportunity to be making it better. And I see him bring that drive to the job, and I just wish he'd had the 6 years before as well, because imagine where we'd be. He is leading us, I think, exceptionally. He is the leader of the National Party. He is New Zealand's Prime Minister, and I invite him to the stage, Chris Luxon.
How are we all? Good to see you. Have a seat. Have a seat. Hey, well, ka nui te mihi kia koutou kia ora. It is so good to be with you all. Can I just say it is a wonderful CNI, LNI conference, and just looking and hearing what has happened today and yesterday, it's been a fantastic conference, and it is so good to see everybody together in large numbers, energised, passionate, ready to go to get this country back on track, and most importantly, to help us realise all the great potential that we have in this fabulous country of ours. It is a great pleasure to be here as the leader of a very strong and invigorated National Party, and it is a tremendous honour to be here as your Prime Minister. And I've got to say, without you, our members, the National Party would not have been able to have fought the fight that we did with such an invigorating and such an energetic campaign, and nor would we be in government today. And I think the only reason we are here as a party in power for the first time since 2017 is because of your efforts to make National the force that it has become and it now is. So thank you, thank you, thank you. 174 days ago, our team was sworn in. We were hungry to deliver on the platform that New Zealanders voted for. And that was quite simply rebuilding our economy so we can ease the cost of living, restoring law and order so we can keep Kiwis safe, and importantly, delivering better public services like health and education. And I want you to say it with me because all of that is part of our plan to get New Zealand. You still remember, it's great, it's fantastic. So I want to say to every single one of you who actually knocked on doors, hit the phones, delivered the leaflets, hosted the signs, put them back up again when they got pulled down, had the conversations with the friends and family that you needed to have about voting National, thank you again. And to my parliamentary colleagues, our regional chairs, Susan Bateup and Shirley Sowry, the HQ team, all of our great board, and particularly our fabulous President Sylvia Wood. Can we all give them a round of applause and say thank you too? And I also want to acknowledge all of those who put their names forward and put themselves forward to represent your communities in the National Party last year. And I just want you to thank Emma and Harete and Francis and Scott and Corona and Ankit. Can we say thank you to them as well as candidates? They were awesome. And to all of you who've been with us today and come from a long way, thank you again for coming here. As you can see, we have moved incredibly fast on the things that we promised to do, and we've moved at tremendous pace, I think. And it's so easy to forget, actually, what we achieved not that long ago, just in last October at the election. So I want you to take a moment to acknowledge that, because in CNI, we won the party vote in every single general electorate, which is a phenomenal achievement. In LNI, we won the party vote in all the electorates except for 4. And when you think about it, we turned seats from all over the region blue, and we welcomed many, many new MPs as a result. So I'm sure that you're going to join me in acknowledging the entire team of ministers and MPs from across CNI and LNI that are here today. And I want to say thanks again to your work for this party, because it is quite a roll call of talent. Now, when I talk the people through, I want individuals to stand up. I want you to give them a big round of applause. And I want to start with my very good friend, our party's tireless deputy leader, and the woman who's about to deliver the budget in about 2 weeks' time, and is going to give, after 14 years, hard-working, low and middle-income New Zealanders tax relief. Can you give it up for Nicola Willis in the house? How good is she? We have the man from the hut who's making sure, instead of just talking about infrastructure, we're actually going to build infrastructure in this country, and what an outstanding presentation he just gave before. Give it up for Chris Bishop. We have with us the first social development minister in years who is actually focused on a novel idea of getting Kiwis into work and off welfare. Give it up for Louise Upston, please. She's doing great. And you heard from him earlier that it's the guy who's getting farmers a better deal overseas through trade and a better deal here at home by getting government out of farming and out of their way. Give it up for Todd McClay, please. We have the great man who's there to make sure we get better outcomes for Māori and non-Māori, and is Hamilton West's greatest advocate. Give it up for the Minister Tama Potaka. We have our great Chief Whip, Scott, who's doing an incredible job guiding what is a big group of MPs in our caucus, training them up in the right way, and he's also doing it so well for a seat of Coromandel. Scott Simpson, please. We've got the hard-working MP for Rangateke and the award-winning farmer, Suze Redmayne. Here she is. We've got our fantastic Deputy Speaker and the MP for Taranaki King Country, Barbara Kuriga. We've also got the Chair of the Foreign Affairs, Defence and Trade Select Committee. It's a pretty big job, and that's our MP for Waikato, Tim van der Molen. Give it up for Tim. Not sure where he is. And then we've got the boys from the Bay, Sam Uffendale and Tom Rutherford. Both those two, man, they're doing the business. Likewise, we've got our team covering the West Coast from New Plymouth to Kapiti Coast, David McLeod, Carl Bates and Tim Costley, doing awesome jobs. And then on the other side of the North Island, we've got Dana Kirkpatrick, Katie Nimmin, Catherine Wedd, and we've also got Mike Butterick, so give it up for them as well. And of course, we've got the only MP who is so dedicated to his community that he actually shares their name, that is Ryan Hamilton. So well done, Ryan. So I have to tell you, what a team, and what an incredibly talented team. And I'm so proud to be able to lead this group of people who I know have worked so tirelessly to make sure that they earn the respect and the support of the people that they represent. And support that National cannot and does not and will not take for granted. And every single day, we need to remember who put us here and what they now expect us to deliver for them. And we need to deliver it. And that means an economy that families who aren't just treading water, but they're actually able to get ahead. It means a safer community without the fear of gangs and crime, and a justice system that prioritised the rights of victims over the rights of criminals and offenders. And it means a health system where you can get the care that you need, when you need it, and an education system where kids show up to school and they actually succeed and are set up for success. New Zealand, whose approach to infrastructure is less about talking about doing things and more focused on actually doing things and building things and getting things done. Now, most weeks in Parliament, some of you who, the 2 or 3 of you that actually watch Parliament TV, will see that the opposition has a chance to ask me questions in Parliament about what our government's doing. And to be honest, I've said this several times, it's a bit perverse really, because it's a bit like an arsonist sort of returning to the scene of a fire that they started and then criticising the fire brigade for the means by which it's actually extinguishing the fire. It's a surreal experience to go through, I've got to be honest with you. But when they ask me if I stand by this government's statements and actions, which is the standard sort of question, I make sure that I'm very proud to point out the things that we are doing in our government to deliver for New Zealanders. And over our first 174 days, that's how long we've been in power, not that long, we have moved, I think, incredibly fast, and we have done a lot already. We know there's a lot more to do, but we've done a lot to rebuild our economy. You know, we've cut the wasteful spending across the public service, and we've stopped the extravagant projects like, you know, Auckland Light Rail and Let's Get Wellington Moving and Three Waters. We've passed legislation to restore interest deductibility to encourage housing supply and ease the costs being piled onto renters. We've cut the red tape in construction and ECE and resources and agriculture and infrastructure sectors to get the government out of the way of the people who actually create jobs and drive our economy. And then in order to restore law and order, we've abolished Labour's prisoner reduction target because we just fundamentally believe a drop in prisoners should happen because we have a drop in crime. It's a novel idea, but we think it makes sense. We've introduced legislation to crack down on gangs, which we expect to be passed by the end of this year. We're also delivering 500 new cops over 2 years, and our young offender military academies will be piloted in the next couple of months. And we're bringing back 3 strikes because we want the rights of victims, as I said, not criminals or offenders, to be at the heart of our justice system. And then to improve public services, we're ensuring investment is going into the front line instead of the back office bureaucracy to improve outcomes. We've banned the mobile phones in schools, and we've now made it a requirement. And I'll tell you, that banning the mobile phones has been brilliant, right? Talk to the principals. You know, it's incredible. Simple, common sense, practical idea from the National Party and from our coalition government, but lo and behold, it turns out kids are actually talking to each other. It's a novel idea, actually building physical interaction with each other. It's incredible. The noise level in the playground's gone up, and there's a lot less cyberbullying as a consequence of the kids getting off the phones as well. But we've also made it mandatory to put an hour of maths, an hour of reading, an hour of writing into the school curriculum from the beginning of the school year, and that's already going to start to pay dividends. From term 1 next year, we are mandating structured literacy for every school, one way, same way, every way, across the country, so that we teach our kids to read. Yep. And in health, we've already set some pretty aspirational targets for shorter emergency department and surgery wait times, and we've progressed our plan to keep working on building better cancer care, including extending free breast cancer screening for women up to the age of 74. Now, I've got to tell you, none of those things would have happened without National forming a government 174 days ago. But I've got to tell you, yep. But I've got to tell you, there is so much more for us to do because, and I want you to know as National Party members that National's values and priorities are going to be the very beating heart of the work that our coalition government has ahead of us in the coming months and years. Now, I just want to also acknowledge Nicola because she's doing an exceptionally good job as our Finance Minister. She's going to go down as one of the best Finance Ministers in this country, period. I'm absolutely confident about that. And I can tell you that because I've seen how hard she has been working since we came to power, and we have inherited a hell of a mess. But she is going to deliver a key part of our plan, or the beginning part of our plan, to rebuild this economy so that we can actually help Kiwis get ahead later this month, what we call Budget 2024. And that budget's going to look very different to, I think, what Kiwis have seen over the past 6 years. For starters, we'll treat your money in the same way that you treat your money, which is actually carefully, which is a novel idea, but I think it's, again, entirely appropriate. And when you think about our budget, when you strip it back from all the announcements that you'll see and hear on May 30, we've got 3 big priorities in this budget. We're going to drive investment into the public services that matter the most to you. So you are going to see an increase in spending in things like health and education and law and order and disability services, right? We are going to make sure we give hard-working, low and middle income New Zealanders tax relief. We're going to increase the take-home pay and income of New Zealanders over the age, 83% of New Zealanders over the age of 15. Over 90% of households in New Zealand will actually have some benefit out of the tax relief program that we're going to produce. And we're going to deliver enduring, ongoing savings and stop the wasteful spending that's been going on so that we can take that money from the back office and the bureaucracy and make sure it works harder for us all on the front line to deliver better frontline services, and also so that we can get our financial books in order over time and back to balance. So I'm very proud of the work that Nicola is doing and the way that she's leading our Associate Ministers of Finance and all of us as we go through that budget process. Now, National has been incredibly consistent and steadfast in its support for tax relief, as I said, for low and middle income working New Zealanders. And I look forward to Kiwis getting that tax relief, thanks to National being in government, and thanks to the work that you did to get us there. Now, alongside rebuilding the economy and restoring law and order, another priority of ours is actually delivering those better public services that we've talked about. And the previous government's approach of fire hosing money around and hoping that the best has not actually worked. And just think about it. Government spending went up over 80% under Labor, and outcomes only got worse. The proportion of patients waiting longer than 6 hours in emergency departments quadrupled. Those waiting more than 4 months for elective treatments went from 5% to almost 40% of New Zealanders waiting more than 4 months to get those first surgeries. Violent crime has increased by a third, and there are 70,000 more people on job seeker unemployment benefit that I'm sure Lou spoke to yesterday. Now, looking at the outcomes, it's clear that Labor prioritised lots of strategies over surgeries. They prioritised lots of wasteful projects over wait times, and committees and consultants over crime in the curriculum. Well, I've got to tell you, we were not elected to simply manage the decline of New Zealand or maintain the status quo. We were elected to turn the country around, and that's why we make no apologies. That's why we make no apologies for setting some pretty big, ambitious and aspirational targets for the outcomes that New Zealanders expect us now to put in place and to deliver for them. And so we've announced these 9 better public service targets, and that is to drive our approach across government and across the public service. And we want to see shorter stays in emergency departments. We want 95% of our people in and out of an emergency department within 6 hours. We want shorter wait times for elective surgeries. We want to see a substantial drop in the number of young people seriously offending, and we want 20,000 fewer victims of violent crime to make our streets so much safer. We want to see a 75% reduction in households in emergency housing. I know Tama Potaka's working incredibly hard on that, so that we don't wake up and hear that our kids are being raised in motels today. And we want 50,000 fewer people on the job seeker unemployment benefit so that people are living better, much more productive lives than being locked into welfare. And we want 80% of our Year 8 kids to be ready to go for high school and where they should be on reading, writing and maths. And we want a radical increase in student attendance because, frankly, we need our kids back at school and doing well in school because the future of our economy and our society relies exactly on that happening. So make no mistake, these are very big goals, but we are focused on outcomes and delivery and results, and we want the system to organise the resources and better use the resources to deliver those results. And so we'll recognise that you worked incredibly hard for every dollar that you earned, and so every dollar that you pay through your taxes should work incredibly hard for you as well. And so those targets are going to focus our public servants and our public service, as well as our ministers and our coalition government. And they're going to encourage a lot of innovation, new thinking, greater efficiency, more accountability as a result. And they'll focus our government, I think, on the outcomes that matter most to you as New Zealanders. And they're going to sharpen our concentration on growing our economy, because it's only when we go from a 2-cylinder to a 4-cylinder to a 6-cylinder economy that we can actually get more of the money that we need to afford the greater public services and the standard of public services that we want to deliver to New Zealanders. So in closing, I've got to say, Kiwis gave us a pretty big mandate last October to get on with a turnaround job. Okay? We're not here to manage the status quo. We do not care about the pundits and the commentators and what people say out there. We are focused on what we are here to do, which is to turn the country around. And I know that our party is best suited to execute that turnaround. And they chose us to backed us to rebuild the economy and deliver a better standard of living for them and their families. They told us they needed us to reverse that soft on crime approach that's seen our communities become less safe. And they told us that they wanted much better results for our young people and those dealing with our healthcare system. And we listened to that. And so you've heard today just very much a few of the components of the strong progress I think we've already made in that 174 days to deliver on that platform that National took to the election. I've got to tell you, it's only just the beginning. We are moving at pace and we will continue to do so quarter by quarter, year by year, to get us out of where we are to a much better place. And I do want you all to know here in this room today that New Zealand has a fantastic future ahead of it. You know, we have an incredible country. We are situated bang smack in the middle of the Indo-Pacific region, the fastest growing part of the world with massive demand for our products and services from rapidly rising middle classes. We have abundant natural resources. We have a strong liberal democracy built on strong social institutions. We are now a modern multicultural country built on strong bicultural foundations. And we have the smartest people in the world. So there should be no excuses for why we can't build out on the 200th anniversary of the Treaty of Waitangi, the best advanced small country on earth, period. And that's what we're signed up for doing. So I said again, you know, we are here because of the work that you put in to send us to Parliament and to get us into government. And again, we want to say thank you. And that excitement that you've brought here today also reflects the excitement that we all felt during the campaign and the energy that you gave us. And we now need to maintain that as we keep moving forward to 2026 and beyond. And that energy I promise to match as I lead our national party and our team and our government as we deliver on our promise to do one more time, get New Zealand back on track. Awesome. Thank you, team. Appreciate all your support.